Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. It's that time of the month. It's the September Evercade Cart releases. We've got the Legacy of Kain Collection and the Bitmap Brothers Collection too. Let's get started. In this video we're going to be looking at the Legacy of Kain Collection. Okay guys, so let's have a look at the Legacy of Kain Collection on Evercade. This is cart number 41. It's actually the second of the Giga carts. Basically that just means there are a lot more memory to these games. These are two PlayStation original titles, obviously emulated on the Evercade, and it's got a 12 certificate. I've not actually played Legacy of Kain that much. I have played Soul Reaver quite a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how well it's emulated on the Evercade systems. Just make sure you have got the most up-to-date firmware on whatever product you're playing on, just to make sure it does run correctly. So we've got two games, Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, and Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. So let's have a look at the cart and the manual as normal. So again, before you start playing these games, I would probably recommend having a little read through the manual, just to make sure you pick up all the different control methods. Now loading times are a little bit slower with PlayStation games, especially on the Evercade EXP and VS. Apparently it's to do with some extra security checks or something. Whatever that means, I do not know. But you probably won't find the same issues on the Super Pocket, for example, or even the original Evercade. These games, yep, should be playable on the original handheld. Some information there. Obviously there are two less extra buttons on the Evercade handheld original, so there's some amendments there for the controls to apply. Now there's a lot of information on both of these games. It's still quite a sizable manual for both titles, and you probably want to pay attention to all the different details if you want to get the best out of these games. Haven't played the original game at all. I don't remember playing it back in the day. I may have played a demo on the PlayStation magazine. A little bit disappointed we've not got a poster or some kind of stickers inside the box. That usually adds a nice bit of sellability to the cart. But anyway, it is what it is. We haven't really had much of that for some time on the games, but I'm definitely interested to see how well these games are emulated, how well they play. I know these are very, very popular titles. So let's have a quick bash on the EXP before we play them on the VS. There's no doubt these games definitely stuck out at the time. I remember Soul Reaver, all these sort of cutscenes, the voice acting, the graphics, they definitely stuck out, and they brought a whole different sort of audience that loved these style of games. It was definitely different to Tomb Raider. It had the same sort of controls as Tomb Raider, but it was a very, very different game, and it was highly rated at the time. Does it still hold up well today? So interestingly, at the time of this video, the remastered versions of these two games will be released on modern formats in December. So Blaze will have some sort of a couple of months of maybe of an exclusive, so to speak, of these games before they get those remasters, which is pretty much the opposite of what happened to the Tomb Raider collection. The Tomb Raider collection remasters were already out before that cart was released, but it was still quite popular. I think one of the best selling carts on Evercade yet, which is interesting. But hopefully this cart should sell even more, given the fact those remasters are not out yet. But then again, maybe people will be holding off for these remasters before, rather than buying the Evercade versions. But anyway, what it is, it's still pretty cool to get these titles onto Evercade. So let's have a look at these games in more depth on the VS. Okay guys, we're going to start off with Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. Now I'm going to add chapters in here just so that you can skip whichever part you want to, because I'm going to include the opening intro scene so you can understand the game, so feel free to skip that.
There is a magical operation of maximum importance. The initiation of a new aeon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood.
Call your dogs! They can feast on your corpses!
For fulfilling the circle, Malak of the Sarafan, you are hereby damned. The pleasures of the flesh are no longer yours. You have but one purpose, damned warrior. You will serve us for eternity.
The tavern's closing. Best be on your way, stranger. What? No mug of ale for a weary traveller from distant Corhagen? I can reward you well, for I am of noble blood. I stay open for no man in these dark times. Things come with the night that no sane man would welcome. And so I left, cold of heart and soul, forced to the road and the long, bitter night. That's him! End it! Now!
They, victors, suffering to the conquered. Ironic that now I was the one suffering. Not anything as pedestrian as physical pain, rather the cruel jab of impotent anger. The hunger for revenge. I didn't care if I was in heaven or hell. All I wanted was to kill my assassins. Sometimes you get what you wish for. The necromancer Mortanius offered me a chance for vengeance, and like a fool, I jumped at his offer without considering the cost. Nothing is free, not even revenge.
You will have the blood you hunger for.
Okay, so finally the game begins. This was typical of a lot of PlayStation games of that time. There was a lot of games trying to outdo each other with impressive FMV, and sometimes it just went on and on. But I guess in most instances it's really just setting the tone for the game and setting the story. Once you finally get started, you start off in the crypt and just familiarise yourself with the controls and what you need to do. So obviously it's press X to actually use your sword for the combat, or if you're obviously in the different forms it's a little bit different, because through the game you can change form to different sort of animals like a bat and a wolf, which we'll go on to later in the sort of video. But yeah, there's lots of pickups and sort of spells as well that you can sort of use. But one thing that definitely stuck out to me is that Blaze have definitely changed the lighting of this game, because I think I remember playing this originally a few months ago on the emulation, that is, but it was very, very dark. So it's quite clear to me they have adjusted the lighting for this game, just like they did with the Tomb Raider sort of games, which definitely helps. However, I think there's still instances throughout the game where it is a little bit too dark. Now, don't forget to feed on some of the humans that are tied up here, because that's basically like replenishing your health. So you press B to sort of feed on the humans there that are trapped. You can also feed on enemies after you've killed them. Well, once if they're staggering about, you can basically just feed on them and replenish your health. Your health is basically that blood vial which you see in the right side of the screen. So keep an eye on that so that you're constantly got health. And this is basically an in-game save facility. Obviously, you don't really need to use that. You can just use the Evercade save states, because that's probably what you're most likely going to use. But anyway, those facilities are there if you want to sort of play in the traditional manner as the game was originally. But I think this game is really interesting, very in-depth. I didn't play it back in the day, so this is fascinating to me. The combat is very clunky, but you get used to it. It is interesting, the story keeps going. There's maps that you can use to figure out where you are. Not sure how helpful, to be honest, they are. You can zoom in and out as well, depending on which different layout you prefer. And you've got different options you can use to, obviously, your magic, if you want to choose, if we'll go back to the crypt for instance, if you want to try and replenish your health if that is running low. But yeah, it's very cool. I'm actually quite impressed with this game. Once I got stuck into it, I got completely absorbed with it, and I was really thoroughly enjoying it. It is very, very cool. Yes, it is very, very dark in many ways, but it is nice. It would have been nice to actually have an option to maybe adjust the brightness setting in the game, but that wasn't there originally either. But you kind of get used to it. But yeah, it is a bit of a pain and a bugbear. But overall, what a great game this is. I think it's absolutely fantastic stuff. And don't forget, pay attention to the voice acting, which is pretty cool. Bit cheesy, but the voice activation that happens throughout the game actually is like gaming tips and hints to what you should do throughout the game. So listen clearly, don't ignore them. They are basically there to help you.
They Victus!
So another thing I should probably mention is the loading times between sort of levels, or going through a door, or activating menus. They are much, much improved in this version. So Blaze have definitely made some tweaks to the lighting here and there, and loading times much, much better, because I remember playing this sort of a few months ago, and the loading times between sort of stages and even activating menus were absolutely horrific. So they are much, much better. So this is definitely a better version than you would have played on the original PlayStation.
They Victus! The Pillars of Nosgoth. Even in life, few sights have moved me such as this. I marvel that such beauty should grace our dying world.
So also worth noting is the voice acting is superb. Also the atmospheric sort of music and sound effects throughout the game certainly set the tone, and this is definitely a high quality game. Very impressive indeed.
Nopraptor, your madness has shattered our dreams and blinded you.
Keep your distance, or I'll send you back to hell, spirit!
There is nothing left of me to fear, vampire. I'm only a shadow of my former self, Ari, the balance of the Circle of Nine. Even so, I can provide the answers you seek.
I seek only a cure.
There is no cure for death, only release. You must destroy the sorcery that is now poisoning Nosgoth. Only then will you realize peace. The 9 of the Protectors of Hope were sworn to use their powers to preserve our world. Now these pillars have been corrupted by a traitor. My murder at the hands of this beast drove my love Nopraptor mad. Now he spreads misery and pain among the Circle, crumbling the very foundation of Nosgoth. You must restore balance. You must right the pillars of Nosgoth.
I care not for the fate of this world.
Then for yourself, Kain. Beware the unspoken.
Nopraptor, with his blind act of vengeance, threatened to destroy all of Nosgoth. Each Circle member was bonded to the pillar he served. The pillars reflected the mental state of their servants, and as the minds of the Circle degenerated and descended farther into dementia, the pillars crumbled. To restore them, each member of the Circle had to die, and the artifact that served as their link to the pillar had to be returned. Only when all the pillars were restored did Ariel claim my curse would end. And so, my hunt for Nopraptor began. The Pillar of the Mind. The Pillar of Conflict. These beacons serve as landmarks during my flights in bat form. Once I have committed their locations to memory, I can always return. In bat form, I can travel great distances with ease. From my vantage in the heavens, no region of Nosgoth is forbidden to me.
Okay, so as mentioned previously, there are different forms you can take. Basically, the bat is like a portal between the different parts that you visit throughout the game. It's just a sort of fast travel type of thing. But if you listen back closely between some of the loading scenes there is this odd buzzing that happens throughout the game. I'm not sure if that was present in the original version, but it is there when there's silence and it's loading in a certain scene. There's that odd buzzing, which is a little bit strange and a bit off-putting at times when you're playing.
My lupine form enables me to move like lightning and leap over obstacles barring my path, but the guise of the wolf brings with it its own kind of hunger and rage.
Okay, so moving on to Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Now I'm going to obviously leave chapters in, as I've mentioned previously. Feel free to skip. I'm going to include the opening scene, which usually lasts about 5 minutes or so before you can get stuck into the game. So feel free to skip that.
Kain is deified. The clans tell tales of him. Few know the truth. He was mortal once, as were we all. However, his contempt for humanity drove him to create me and my brethren. I am Raziel, firstborn of his lieutenants. I stood with Kain and my brethren at the dawn of the Empire. I have served him a millennium. Over time, we became less human and more divine. Kain would enter the state of change and emerge with a new gift. Some years after the Master, our evolution would follow, until I had the honor of surpassing my lord. For my transgression, I earned a new kind of reward. Agony. There was only one possible outcome: my eternal damnation. I, Raziel, was to suffer the fate of traitors and weaklings, to burn forever in the bowels of the Lake of the Dead.
Cast him in.
Tumbling, burning with white-hot fire, I plunged into the depths of the abyss. Unspeakable pain, relentless agony. Time ceased to exist. Only this torture and a deepening hatred of the hypocrisy that damned me to this hell. An eternity passed, and my torment receded, bringing me back from the precipice of madness. The descent had destroyed me, and yet I lived.
Raziel, you are worthy. I know you, Raziel. You are worthy.
What madness is this? What pitiful form is this that I have come to inhabit? Death would be a release next to this travesty.
You did not survive the abyss, Raziel. I have only spared you from total dissolution.
I would choose oblivion over this existence.
The choice is not yours.
I am destroyed.
You are reborn. The birth of one of Kain's abominations traps the essence of life. It is this soul that animates the corpse you lived in. And that, Raziel, is the demise of Nosgoth. There is no balance. The souls of the dead remain trapped. I cannot spin them in the wheel of fate. They cannot complete their destinies. Redeem yourself. Or if you prefer, avenge yourself. Settle your dispute with Kain. Destroy him and your brethren. Free their souls and let the wheel of fate churn again. Use your hatred to reave their souls. I can make it possible. Become my soul reaver, my angel of death.
Okay, when you finally get control of your character, just familiarise yourself with the controls. L2 and R2, and sort of using the D-pad you can sort of look about using the camera. You can also just press L2 or R2 and it basically goes round in a circle, so you can familiarise yourself with your settings. There's not an awful lot to know at this particular stage. The first 10 minutes or so is more like a tutorial anyway. Familiarise yourself with the jump button and the attack buttons, and obviously utilising, I think it's L1 or R1 if you hold that down while you're attacking, so it basically focuses on one particular enemy. But basically enjoy this first 10-20 minutes or so of the tutorial and familiarise yourself with the game and understand the mechanics. What a great game. The voice acting again is superb, the graphics are really nice, and I think it's a fantastic game. I'm really chuffed that this is on Evercade. It's one of those games I've probably not played for years and years. Never really got that far, but it always fascinated me, and I'm pretty sure this game will bring a lot of new people on board to Evercade. Is this better than Tomb Raider? I think it really depends on how you see it. Some people might prefer this and some people might prefer Tomb Raider. I'm not entirely sure. I always preferred Tomb Raider, to be honest, but this game is quite a bit different to that sort of style, and there are a lot of puzzle elements as well throughout the game that you need to solve. Some of it is definitely quite tricky, so be prepared for that. A lot of sort of block moving, which is definitely a lot different to what you would find in the Tomb Raider games, but very impressive stuff. Great graphics, voice acting, atmosphere, superb stuff.
You are weak. You must feed.
The old hunger has left me. I have no desire for blood.
You are changed. Your bloodthirst is replaced by a deeper need. You have become a devourer of souls. To sustain your strength, you must hunt the lost spirits of the underworld and consume the souls of your enemies. Your wings, though ruined, are not without purpose. Take hold of them as you leap, and they will carry you across this chasm.
What scabrous wretches are these?
Stua, the scavengers of the underworld. Their feral hunger has claimed countless souls, spirits who now shall never find their rest. These portals are your conduit between the spectral and material realms. With their aid, you may gather matter and will yourself to become manifest in the physical world. This is taxing, however. Your strength must first be fully restored. You require no conduit to return to this plane. You may abandon your physical body at any time. Sustain your strength to prolong your manifestation in the physical world. If you fail to feed or absorb too many wounds, this fragile matter will dissolve.
So there's no doubt that the combat can be a little bit ropey at times, but it's obviously worth noting there are a few different ways to kill your enemies. Once they're sort of standing there, they're bloody and basically they're defeated, you can hold down the Y button to pick them up, and then you can either try and impale them against the wall, or you can chuck them into the water, but beware, if you hold on to them too long they will sort of fight back and get back off onto their feet again to fight back. But you can obviously chuck them onto fire and they will sort of burn and die that way. Just remember to sort of suck up their soul, otherwise sometimes they do spring back to life. And be careful if you use a sort of weapon to impale them by pressing the Y button. If you pull that out without absorbing their soul, they will spring back to life again, which is just utterly bizarre. So just remember to absorb those souls after you've killed each enemy, otherwise they'll just reanimate again and you'll have to do it all over again. But yeah, the combat is okay, but it just at times it can be a little bit clunky. Not sure what the point is of the sneak option. I just don't see why that's necessary. I think that was just probably put there, maybe that was just the sign of the times with stuff like Metal Gear Solid going about at the time, where sneaking games were the thing. So I should point out that I experienced a little bit of slowdown in this section of the game. I'm not sure if that was there originally or I experienced some sort of a issue with my EXP when I was playing, but this is also playing on the VS and this save state just seems a little bit corrupted for some reason. My EXP actually crashed and it went through this sort of colour sequence. I'm not sure this was overheating because I'd left it in pause for some time, probably a couple hours, so that's probably what happened there. But basically the music didn't seem correct here and the slowdown seemed to affect it, so not entirely sure what happened, whether this is something everyone else might experience or it was just me. I don't actually know, but I thought it was worth mentioning anyway. But other than that, I haven't seen any other issues throughout the game, but it definitely happened on this section, and the music didn't seem right for some time until a sort of FMV sequence kicked in and it seemed to revert itself back to normal. As mentioned previously, there are some puzzle elements throughout the game. A lot of the time it is involving pushing a lot of different blocks here and there, but there's an interesting element that's added where you can obviously turn the blocks over onto a different side by holding the L1 button and pushing the D-pad and pressing X. It basically shifts the block onto a different side, and sometimes you have to do that to solve certain puzzles. But yeah, that definitely is pretty cool to me, and the puzzle elements throughout the game add a new dimension which is pretty nice, and it certainly makes it stand out from your usual hack and slash adventure exploration style games. So my final thoughts on the Legacy of Kain collection. I would say buy it now. Two fantastic titles, and it's great to see them on the Evercade, especially before the remasters launch later this year, which is really quite fascinating. But hopefully this will still sell well. I think they're two excellent games. Even if you didn't like the Tomb Raider collections, I'm pretty sure you will still enjoy that. Now, talking about the Tomb Raider collections, if you put the two carts of Legacy and Kain Tomb Raider in at the same time, you still don't get a secret game. I'm a little bit disappointed about that. But anyway guys, what you waiting for? Go out and get this now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.